Goat Squad TV. So I would like to personally send a personal fan apology to Al Horford. Now that he's back in Boston, I didn't realize how much we really lost when we lost him. Yeah, we beat him in the playoffs last year when he was in Philly. Philly didn't really use him right, and let's really be honest, that team was actually better when Al Horford was the main guy. You guys don't really realize when Embiid was gone, the Sixers were like damn near unbeatable when Horford was out there. When Horford and Embiid were playing together, that's where the problems were. And then, obviously Embiid's gonna get top dibs. That's his team. Horford just went there for his boy Elton Brand just to play with him in Atlanta. And he just really went there. He was gonna stay in Boston had he not been given that ridiculous contract. I shitted on him for that contract. I shitted on him for the way he played the last season in Boston. And I would like to personally apologize to Al Horford. Anything I might have said on this channel disrespecting Al Horford, disregard. That said, anybody thinking Al Horford's just going to be there as a way to get unleash cap space and be out by next year, you guys are sadly mistaken. Now, is he going to be playing on that hefty ass contract for the Celtics? Probably not. So after he probably opts out next year, or half of his money is not guaranteed, whatever, I have a feeling the Celtics are going to work with him and trying to restructure his deal, give him an extension, like a 2-3 year extension for less money. So he's making $100 million right now. He's maybe like, he's still really good, but he's more like 70 million, 60 million at this point because of what he does. People don't really understand what Al Horford does. What Al Horford does is not contributed so much in the stat sheets. He does a lot of those little things that you don't see. And you just look at his 14, 15 points a game and like, he's average. He averages 7 rebounds a game. He's average. It's not average. The things that he does defensively, the way he covers space, the way he knows how to read defenses, read offenses, I mean. He knows how to read offenses. He knows how to pass the ball at the post, much like Jokic, except he's not the scorer. He's not the player Jokic was, but he's really like the original Jokic with less scoring ability. And he's can become a much better spot-up three-point shooter. Even if Horford comes off the bench after next year, and let's say you got a Moses Brown or a Timelord ends up being either one of those two end up becoming the starting center, Horford, even at a lower price, is still very useful. As a matter of fact, if you really want to be technical, you could move Horford to the 4 and have either Moses Brown play the 5 or Time Lord play the 5, depending on if you want to keep Time Lord or not. I'm going to tell you what we're not going to do. Basically, compared, when I talked to you guys about the earlier video about the friction between Kemba Walker and Brad Stevens, if you guys remember, Tristan Thompson had a rumor go about him being not well liked in the locker room. Anybody that knows his days from Cleveland knows that Tristan can be a little obnoxious, and I think he kind of overvalues himself based on what he brought to the table in Cleveland when LeBron was there, when it was LeBron's team. What he was able to do there is probably not what he was ever going to do here. And obviously, Brad being more of a spread 5, type of guy, Tristan kind of took a lot of space. But I do believe there's truth to the rumor that Tristan was not very liked in the locker room, and the guys that did like him, it just became one of those things where it's like someone's going to pick a side, and it just ended up being kind of a split in the locker room. Now, I hate to see Kemba go. However, getting Horford back is so much better. And I really think knowing Horford's family, knowing that Anna is she's a huge Celtics fan, though she supports Al. She was always a Celtics fan. She was against Kyrie, some of the things Kyrie did, and she was very vocal about it. Horford was not really good friends, or not really cool with Kyrie. The Horfords in general were not very fond of him. So he was, they were obviously they loved IT. You know what I mean? So they loved the Celtics organization. They probably would have stayed had that big contract offered, would have never been offered. That said, Al has a lot of value with the Celtics. Doesn't necessarily have a lot of value left in the league per se, but he has a lot of value with the Celtics. And based on, even if you have a different coach, his experience, his playoff experience, the wars he's been through with the Celtics. Now it's him, Tatum, Brown, and Smart. If Smart stays on the Celtics, those guys will be the guys that are the only ones left for that conference finals run that we had in 2018. And Al's been to a lot of conference finals. He's been to a few of them. So he's had a lot of playoff wars, some with the Celtics, some against the Celtics. He's a well-needed vet. He's a professional, consummate professional. And I think you need a guy like him to mentor Timelord. You need a guy like him to mentor Moses Brown. Either one of those two get, one stays healthy, he could be something, the bench. I don't see him being a starter. But Moses Brown is the guy I think is part of the trade who I think is the future starter. And Horford knows him very well from OKC. And I think Horford grooming him and at the same time being the best version of himself, even at his age, is going to help the Celtics. Horford's going to do things that you're not going to see with scoring. So you might see some games he has 8-10 points and 6 rebounds or something like that and about 2-3 blocks. But his impact on how that offense is ran, he's going to be playing a lot of point centers sometimes, certain moments like he used to when he was here. And he's going to know how to run that offense or whatever offense they decide to have, running. So he knows Jason Tatum spots. He knows Jaylen Brown spots. He knows Marcus Smart spots. Everybody else he kind of has to get a little more familiar with, but he's such a smart player and a heady player that a guy like him, you're not going to, I think we learned our lesson here that we should have never let him go. We should have paid him. Danny should have pocketed up and paid him more. Shouldn't have gave Kemba Walker that contract. As much as I hate to say it, you're paying Kemba $141 for that time, thinking he's still Kemba. But looking back and how much of a knee-jerk reaction that was, I would have kept Rozier for $81 million and 1 extra year, and kept Horford at maybe 100, maybe at 100 at that price that Philly gave him. And then if you need to restructure his deal at some point down the road, maybe he opts out, restructures his deal, wants to stay here. The only other place I could see Al Horford playing for at this point in his career would be Atlanta, because that's where that's the only other place he's been at before, longer. But they have a set squad, so I think Boston's a perfect fit for him. I think it's the best way to retire. I'm pretty sure Brad Stevens and the Celtics organization is going to have a place for him in the office once his career's done. He might even don't be surprised if Al Horford takes Brian Scalabrine's seat and ends up being the new guy that takes over for Tommy Heinsohn when his career's over. I can see Al Horford doing that. He's such a constant professional. So, yeah. Be prepared to see Al Horford with the Celtics for the next 3 to 4 years. He might not be a starter by the end of his career, but what he gives that team and what kind of leadership he gives that team, the professionalism, the willingness to play no matter what, the fact that he's not really super athletic, so he doesn't really have to use athleticism too much, so he's not going to get hurt very often. Much like, unlike early in his career where he used to get hurt a lot, he doesn't really have to play inside the way he used to anymore. Different games, a more stretch 5 game. You don't let Al Horford go under no circumstances. You keep Moses Brown, keep Timelord for the time being, unless he just doesn't show that he can stay healthy. Timelord can't stay healthy this season, then you're probably going to have to let him go. But Moses Brown is the key. He's the key. Horford's going to make a big deal out of developing him and helping him develop, and whoever else is on the roster. Now it's going to be up to Brad to build the rest of the roster. Are we going to keep Grant Williams? We're going to let Grant Williams go. We're going to keep Langford or let him go. Naismith and Pritchard are pretty much locked. You're not letting those guys, unless you're going to go trade them for like a star, you're not letting those guys go. You know what I mean? So Smart would be the only one, the point guard position would be the only thing in question right now. Otherwise, I think that you get rid of Tristan, let him, deny his option, team option, let that money go so you get more cap room. I wouldn't even bother resigning Foreigner unless it's like no other choice. I think he would play well with Horford, but I don't think we really need him. Especially with Naismith coming back next year, he's going to have a much more healthier grasp with the team and what they're going to want from him. I don't think you have to really bring him back per se. You see what's out there in free agency. See some pieces, like I said, Kyle Anderson, a guy like that. See, you get him from Memphis. Maybe get a couple other guys that are more serviceable role players off the bench that'll be willing to take a certain amount of money to help the team win. And then, you build around Tatum and Brown, man. That's what you're supposed to do. And guys like Horford help round that up. Guys like Smart, if he stays in his line, will help that wind up. I really kind of think he's gone because I think you're not going to pay Marcus Smart a large ass amount of money to stay. And I also think he has such a bad relationship with the Celtics fans, especially after, him kind of sticking up for Kyrie in a lot of ways over the controversy, that I could see Smart being dealt. I could definitely see Smart getting dealt. But if he doesn't, then, ride it out for a year, and then free agency comes. Do you sign him? Or do you go after a bigger free agent, maybe in that class, and sign him, play that position? Or like I said, Terry Rozier be a free agent. They're both going to be free agents the same year. So you either trade for Terry and then sign him to an extension, or you keep Marcus for one more year and then let him go. Let him walk. Get Terry back. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, long story short, my apologies to Al. Al has to stay a Celtic for the rest of his career, man. Gotta keep him. Gold Squad TV. Leave your comments down below. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You guys might not see what's special in Al, but all I know is that when he was in the Celtics, even when that bad year that we had, we still won 49 games. As bad as we were that year, I'd much rather take that 2019 season over than we just had. That season we just had, that 36-36 year, I'll take the 49-33 season any day of the week. Gold Squad TV.